Colors of an LSD sunrise. There have been new experiences for me this past year. I went from never having tried drugs, even weed, to becoming an experienced psychonaut. My first time on psychedelics was a very pleasant one, but had been very muddled. It was a night fueled with meth, weed, 25i, and inhalants. Not a smart choice, but after having a wonderful night on shrooms, I wanted to experience LSD. Being a part of the psychonaut community has taught me so much about the best parts of drug use and exploring one's mind. So naturally, I talked to many people about their own experiences with LSD and decided that the journey would be one that I would take slowly. With that in mind, I decided to try a small dose, 100 UG, to wet my whistle. My LSD arrived, and as fate would have it, dosed onto my favorite thing on the planet, orange Pez. It was as if the world were tempting me with LSD-laced, sugary golden perfection, always a great sign. I had a playlist prepared. Music for me, as with so many others, is key with any trip. My tastes are not limited to any particular EDM or one genre, rather it's a collection of songs that I've picked up over the past year. Anytime I hear XXYYXX About You, I am brought back to listening to it for the first time with my friend and talking about religion and war. Hearing Bliss and Esso's Field of Dreams brings to mind another friend talking to me about picking up the pieces of my life. So having my playlist ready was key for me, but as I began to prepare my dose, I was in a chat room with friends, most notably one of the founders of the community I was in. We talked a bit and I saw that he was currently DJing for the community radio station, so I thought I would tune in for a bit to see what he had on tap. I was not disappointed. He had so many great songs on the lineup for me. If you ever have the opportunity to have a personal DJ for a trip, 10 out of 10 would recommend. From the Beatles to EDM to rock and indie songs, everything molded my sensations and feelings. Songs were beautiful and varied and seemed to speak to me on a higher level. I dosed at 9:30 p.m. and began feeling a body load that was new and unusual for me. It was akin to the anticipation one gets when getting ready to ride a roller coaster. The chatting in line with friends, getting the giggles when you finally sit into a seat, the way you feel when the straps come across your body that will hold you safe from certain death, the initial excitement of a huge contraption taking off with your fragile human body inside, the rush of the climb of the first hill, and the explosion of butterflies in your chest as you see the descent into gravity decimating fun that is ahead. I had a grin on my face from those feelings of anticipation and a nervous energy that felt amazing. Jokes and things my friends were saying were funnier, colors became more vibrant, slowly at first, then more and more as the trip progressed. I liked the feeling of connectivity that being on a solo trip can bring, but was also directly linked with my friends through the chat room. This dual level of connection is unique but also beautiful. I listened to music though I had never heard it before. Chills ran over my skin, and hearing the combination of music and my friends' voices coming through my headphones put me in a mood of delight and whimsical excitement. My friend talked to me in his beautiful Welsh accent and told me he was linking a song called Vein in Stars by The Flaming Lips. He said it's the only song that kinda makes me okay with the idea of dying. Not that I wanna die, but that the piece of it is okay. This struck me as the most enveloping and beautiful idea. I felt the lyrics wash over me, and I understood wholly what he was saying. The LSD trip was both outwardly receptive to the new experiences as well as inwardly reflective on my insignificance of my life in the grand scheme. My feelings of wanting everyone with me were fairly overwhelming. I wanted to see their faces, hear their thoughts, know their minds. Each person came into the chat channel partially because they knew it was my first trip and partially because they wanted to see how I was faring. I listened to conversations like I hadn't understood things before. Words held weight for me. My dearest confidant and friend said something that struck me as insightful and encompassing. He said, "I am glad to see you enjoy this trip so much. It is your first one. There have been lots of people who have been on the same trip as you, but this one is uniquely yours." It made me feel the theme of the trip, connectivity as a universal and yet primal need. There are always firsts for any user. The first time you try a drug, you can read about it, study it, prepare for it, but in the end, you must experience it. I came into this trip with preconceived notions like any of us have. Walls didn't disintegrate into pools of water. I didn't see my face melt away in a mirror. The low dose helped give a gentle nudge into the new realm of psychedelics that I haven't experienced before. I wouldn't have traded it for another trip. At 6 a.m., I was feeling the come down from my trip. I could feel it wane, and yet the feelings of happiness and being at peace with the earth were still very strong. More than anything, I wanted to share it with everyone. My friend recommended that I smoke some weed if I had any. I found, quite literally, one hit left within my pipe. A small toke was all that was needed to help regain some of the high I'd felt a few hours before. I gathered up my laptop, my blanket, my tripping hat, a silly blue owl hat with ear flaps and, for some odd reason, a teardrop below its eye, and walked into the backyard to watch the sunrise. I continued to have my webcam on and talked with everyone about how thankful I was that they had gotten to experience this trip with me. I listened to the birds sing, I watched the clouds slowly melt from the sun's kiss, I looked at the colors of the sky, and I imagined how it must have been for the first person to ever take LSD. They saw the same sunrise as I was seeing, but this trip was uniquely mine.